Good afternoon and welcome to the Recruiter Zone chat. This week I'm on my own without Stephen, and I'm joined by two lovely guests to talk about the key things to consider when investing in your CRM and how to find those hidden hires. I'm joined by Wendy and Lisa. Wendy, do you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm delighted to be here. It's a 3-girl way. I'm Wendy McDougall. I'm the CEO of Firefish Software.
Thank you, Wendy. And we're joined by Lisa. Lisa, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lisa Jones from Barclay Jones. So I work with recruiters on CRM and marketing.
Fabulous. Okay, great. So I thought we'd just crack straight on with this. One of the inspirations for this is our tech event on the 7th of June, which you'll both be at. And ahead of that, we produced a white paper, which again, you both contributed to, about the 10 considerations when investing in your CRM. And I think it might be quite useful to chat through some of those. We'll take questions in the sidebar. So if anybody's watching has got any questions, they can put them in the sidebar. If anyone who watches this afterwards on Facebook Live or on YouTube has any questions, get in touch and I know we'll try to answer those. So the first thing, and some of these seem really obvious, but once you start delving into it, you realise why maybe some recruiters are challenged in moving from one CRM to another. The first thing is, does it suit the size and expected growth of my business? And Lisa, you're obviously working with a lot of recruiters who are looking to move or upgrade their CRM. How much do you think you should consider that question about the size, expected growth of the business?
I think often what happens is CRMs are mispurchased rather than missold. I know most of the recruitment software sellers out there, and most of them are pretty cool, lovely people. It's just that I think often what happens is the recruitment leaders or the people they've abdicated to buy the product haven't really listened to the pitch effectively, and sometimes it has been missold. I have been in the room when that's happened, but I do find that maybe the recruitment leader isn't thinking enough about the growth of their business because they dare not, because let's face it, the recession dented confidence in a massive way. But also what's happening is that potentially they're buying the dream of what their CRM can do rather than reality of how they're supposed to implement it, and then over time they realise that they're managing too many people. Those people have got too many systems to use. So then what we find when Wayne and I go into businesses as consultants to the industry is we find that there is a big disconnect with the goals and the values of the CRM company and the goals and the values of the client that's bought that system. And I don't think CRM is for life anymore, but I equally don't think it's for a year. And so I think that business leaders really need to look tangibly at not just buying it for their staff, but buying it for their business. And I think that's what often happens. So it's a bit of a long way of answering the question, but there is often a disconnect. It's because they're just often buying the CRM in the wrong way and for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, do you see that when people come to you, Wendy, that you're having to give them a bit of strategic advice about their business?
Yes, I think, to be fair, I mean, Lisa, you'll understand this as well. I went through this back when I was starting my recruitment agency as well, and I call it the beauty parade. And there are so many different softwares out there that it becomes a little bit of sort of demo mad, and you see so many different things that you think, oh, that's good, and we call it almost like the magpie effect. Oh, it's shiny, that looks good. But to be fair to the recruitment owner, it's probably one of the biggest purchases that they're going to make. So, they want to try and get this right. But you're right in that not that many recruitment owners really have thought about where this business is really going to go in the next few years. They all want to take over the world, which I love, and that's one of the main things I love about this sector. But it's really being realistic with where that business is going to be. I do agree with Lisa when she said that, it's becoming much more easier to move systems. So I think that a lot of people that maybe in the past that have had a recruitment agency are thinking about moving. They've still got this sort of horrible thought that they're, it was a terrible data migration, or it took a lot of time to move and get used to it, where it has become much more easier. And I also think, to be fair to all the software vendors out there as well, we actually, because the structure is now on a per month, per basis, when you're paying, our customers are with us because they want to be with us, not because we lock them into lots of long contracts. So actually, from the vendor's point of view, I do not want a customer that's not going to be a fit.
No, all that would be off, won't they?
It does, and I think that is where we are trying to help them evaluate. And I'm not sure some of the recruitment owners are used to the fact that we'll say, "Listen, I don't think that's a good fit for you," but I think that's good for the industry, and I think that helps the recruitment owner to maybe not see a shiny thing, but actually understand where this can help their business in the next couple of years.
No, absolutely. Well, my next question was about the features, and Alex has just asked a question ahead of my question, which is what functionality is the most important a business owner needs? And on the white paper, that is basically the second question. Does it have the features I need? But how do they know whether they're the features they need? So Lisa, what would you say the most important functionality is?
I think often the reason why a CRM project can start off feeling very simple, because it's a bit of kit, and end up feeling relatively complex is because someone like Wendy and myself will look at all of the peripheral tech, if that's if you want to call Broadbean and LinkedIn and web peripheral tech, third-party apps, whatever. And what we then say is, well, it doesn't matter if the CRM can't do this, because we'll do this bit instead over here, and we'll do this bit over here, and we'll do this bit over here. And then what you end up with is an octopus with 14 million legs and a recruiter going, I haven't got a flipping clue what I'm doing. So I think that in terms of, rather than naming the specific feature that I think every CRM needs to do, I do think the business process needs a jolly good look at before you engage with any CRM company. I think you need to look at the related systems that you're using right now. So it's all the gear, no idea, or option paralysis, whatever you want to call it. And then from there, I would say that actually, if I was to be pushed on the most important feature, searching and coding every single time. And the main reason for that, as much as I think recruitment systems should drive process, they should drive interviews, they should prevent backdoor placements, they should allow you to search big data for trends so you can figure out where your next placements are going to come from rather than what phone call you're going to make. But I do think the sourcing piece for me, when we consider that 80% of the clients client placements that we worked with last year were already on the CRM system before the recruiter even advertised the role or searched elsewhere. Yeah. So I would say at the moment, the Lisa Jones show says it needs to be sourcing, that needs to be better, or rather the recruiters need to learn how to source from their own CRM, because often the sourcing technology is fine. It's just a problem between the chair and the keyboard. But there's too many stats out there that say, recruitment leaders, for example, 90% of them polled last year said, oh, we use our CRM before we do anything else. And then when we asked their recruiters, they went, yeah, 17% of us only use our CRM before we use anything else. There's a big gap between what leaders think is happening and what recruiters are using it for. But often they then say, oh, but our biggest challenge is lack of credible and great candidates. So I'll say, well, where are you sourcing from? Oh, everywhere but my CRM system. So to answer Alex's question, I think sourcing and coding and just the overall structure of the database is the key thing for you. Don't just use it as a data dump. Use it as something you can sell to people that want to invest in your business when you sell it. Use it to show your recruiters, if you come and work for me, oh, look at all this gorgeous stuff. You don't need 101 different systems to place a candidate. We've got one. It's great. We can say to candidates, when we put you on here, you don't die a long death. You actually get regular nurturing. We look after you. And we say to clients, yeah, I know you've got access to 500 million candidates on LinkedIn, but we've got 10,000 gaming candidates here and they all love us. How much do you want to spend on this project? Off you go if you want to use LinkedIn, but we've got everyone you need. So I think candidate segmentation and searching is probably the key, but the overall workflow, and Wendy, what I know will agree with me on this, has to slot into the CRM absolutely acutely rather than buying hundreds of peripheral systems.
Yeah, okay. So you've kind of touched on the finding the hidden hires within your CRM in that answer, and is that the core way you find hidden hires in your CRM is by correctly utilizing it and tagging your candidates and entering the data correctly and having a CRM which is searchable?
Absolutely, and rewarding recruiters for clean desks. So it's not just how tidy is your desk when you leave it at night, but are you 95% clean? I mean, even in my younger days, I got the recruiters, and there were 150 of them, down to 90 or up to 95% clean. And I'm not saying every single field was filled in, but the relevant ones that would help them find talent, the relevant ones that when they were plugging a vacancy into the system, they could quickly do an automatic search to find talent that matched that job while they were on the phone. I mean, you know, we are in a race to place talent. We say there's a war for talent, which obviously involves speed, but often we're taking too long. I mean, we've got clients who've admitted recently, again, well, studies that we've done, that they've taken 8 weeks to place a candidate that had been on the system for 16 weeks, and only then did they find them on a job board.
Yeah.
it kind of doesn't add up. So candidate holding pens, whatever you want to call it, that's where the CRM needs to improve, but that's just the beginning of it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. The third point in the list of considerations is the provider able to keep up with new trends and allow the customization I want? And Wendy, how much do you get recruiters coming to you asking what your ability is to keep up with these new trends?
So more and more, which is positive. And actually we generally encourage it. That's been probably one of the biggest things that when I reflect on the 7 years of doing this, that I was really pleased I did, is that all of our users drive our roadmap. And it's not just a statement. They actually get to, vote and give us ideas. Now, don't get me wrong, there's certain things that are smaller and certain things that are bigger that take us more time, but it's a really, they feel involved, is what I get told, in terms of actually pushing the product over. Or pushing the product forward. So, I think this comes down to sometimes, recruitment owners are busy running their own business, so they don't quite know what they may want, but they know the pains. And that's what I always come back to, is maybe not around features, it's around asking them why they're trying to do stuff, or what do they want to try and achieve. And then that's kind of our skills. I see it as trying to help them achieve that. So I think we train a lot of our guys in here is to simply ask why. So anytime that they're able to vote in the community, say, I would like to do this, it's almost like, right, can you explain that a little bit more? Then other people will vote on it and then they'll drive on it. So I think that's really healthy, that people are feeling much more involved in where technology is going, and using our skills to make that happen. So, I like that. I think that as an industry though, and I know Lisa and I have debated about this, we're still behind big time in terms of what technology can do for us. And I think, again, that's one of the biggest lessons I've had, is that I probably wanted to push harder and faster in the innovation side of it, but the industry is not quite ready there, which is no fault of our own, but we've just been reliant on sort of job board technology or other sources that come up that we can find candidates, rather than actually thinking about it as a sort of traditional business would think about developing my brand, developing my web, developing data. And as Alex says earlier, recruitment businesses are actually data businesses, and we haven't really established that yet. So being able to use that data and really sort of think in a different way, it's taking time, but we're getting there.
No, absolutely. Lisa, have you got anything to add to that in terms of the...
I think one of the reasons why, and I'm not suggesting that recruitment tech is backward. I mean, I certainly think we've moved flipping hell in the time that I've been in it massively forward at quite a rate. But I do think one of the challenges that recruitment tech companies have is that recruitment leaders and their recruiters have not expected enough from those systems in recent years. Or they kind of, the social media revolution where everything was free, and obviously nothing's free when you're spending 50% of your time using it. I think I say to recruitment leaders all the time, what's your expectation of recruitment tech? What's your expectation of recruitment marketing? And it's often very low, because we're still in this get on the phone. And by the way, great. I do genuinely believe that talking to people is the most important skill anyone will ever endorse with recruitment. But I think when we've not really expected much from our CRM, and we've not held people accountable for added data, like Wendy said, the data that you've got is the currency. Your process is the bit you're selling as well, and we've just not made it transparent enough. We've not done enough with it. And so I think the minute that recruitment leaders start asking more of recruitment systems, then recruitment tech companies will have not an excuse, they don't need an excuse, but definitely a viable reason to invest in their systems more. But I must also stress as well, there are products on the market which we regularly go into clients and look at them and do a discovery on. Are you using this as well as you could? And we often find when we're lifting the bonnet that they're using 1 out of 20 cylinders or whatever analogy I can come up with, always in first gear instead of sixth. So I do think there's an opportunity for recruitment leaders just to say to themselves, right, enough is enough. Let's look at the systems and processes we've got in our business. Are we using things properly? Are we expecting too much from our recruiters because they've only got 2 hands and 1 brain, bless them? Are we not expecting enough from our recruitment tech? Oh, hold on a minute, it does do what we want it to do. Why are we using all this extra free stuff that just takes far too long, or God forbid paying for it at the same time? So I do think expectations need to be improved to give us all the reasons to do things better.
No, Lisa, you're a little bit quiet. I don't know whether you're...
Is that any better?
Yeah, I always think that's a good look when we're holding our microphones like that. The next point, there's some comment in the chat, which I think we'll just try and come back to in a minute, actually. Oh, actually, Alex says, I love it when recruiters say our system is rubbish. It does not do what we wanted to do. In all likelihood, it does. It's just they haven't taken the time to learn it. And we're coming on to training after this question. So question 4, I know we can trust Wendy, so I don't need to ask her this question. But Lisa, question 4 is, can I trust the company and the product? And for recruiters, is this about data security, or is this about a broader trust? How often do you have this conversation with recruiters looking at tech?
Often, if a recruiter has a number of companies or clients, etc., that are a bit touchy about their data and have every right to be, especially in the current climate. But I think you're probably, if you're dealing with businesses like that, you're probably more likely to be dealing with one more top-end recruitment software companies anyway that have all of that stuff built in and it's all lovely and safe. I think it is about data. I think security is touched on massively because it's often built into everything else they're doing, like escrow and stuff like that. So I'm not sure I can add any value to that.
I like Wendy's comment. Actually, I was about to read it out, Wendy, but you could say it, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, trust is loads of things, but it's about trusting in a two-way partnership. You know, it's not just a sales process that basically promises and never delivers, and that can be about security, that could be about data, that could be about getting a feature in, that could be about anything. I think it's just sort of having a level trust in that partnership. So, you know, you can't be too demanding because that doesn't work either. And likewise, you know, we can't deliver the impossible. But if there's that trust there that we'll work together in order to try and achieve it, then that I think that's what we aim for, and that's definitely good for the industry. So trust is loads of things, and obviously data is very much on you know, everybody's mind right now in terms of obviously the cyber attack that happened at NHS, the changes in GDPR as well, and you know, I think that's good for the industry as well, because actually it's going to strengthen you know, everybody's value in their data, because nobody can just sit on the quantity of my database. Oh, great, I've got a database of 90,000 candidates. You know, they're not going to be able to have that sort of level of data and just sit there without actually cleaning it up, getting that sort of data deleted. So it's actually going to be very much on, how many candidates do you have engaged? How many candidates are you actually able to work with? How many candidates are you able to reach overnight for your clients? And I suppose that's what really excites me. It's not about feature this or feature that. It's about walking into a client as a recruiter and basically saying, listen, if you're looking for this skill set, I get X amount of hits on my website. I get X amount of, or I can send out X amount of job alerts to a specific candidate. And I have X amount of candidates that are actually active or passively looking in this. And I can tell you tomorrow how many people we actually get to click on this campaign, look at this site and show interest. Can we start to talk about how we do a video for your interview, how we package a campaign page up, and how, you know, it's there's a great time to be in our industry just now, because we can do so many more things and services for our customers, not just give them CVs. No. And we can charge for it.
And they need us to do that as well, because they can get the CVs for themselves. So we have to add extra value. I mean, certainly in the early 2000s, the business that I worked with had lots of things called client services, which we actually had quite a big team delivering on those. What was interesting is the recession basically nailed those to the floor, because clients just candidates, they didn't want extra consultancy, and that's fine. But what doesn't seem to have grown, now we've come out of recession, touching loads of wood here, is the ability to actually offer extra services. And of course, there's never been a better time to offer extra services. But I think that's going back to the trust thing. I think that's important, because obviously if a recruiter, you can't be trusted to know your niche. You can't be trusted to know how to advertise your jobs. And that's obviously apparent when I look at their profiles, apparent when I look at their job adverts. If I can spot that, and I'm not the client's going to spot a mile. So online, and I would say that as a recruitment marketeer, to help recruiters gain more trust before they even pick the phone up. So when the phone rings at the other end, the client goes, oh yeah, you're that person that does X, Y, Z, let's have a chat.
Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely. So the next point we're going to talk about is support and training. And Alex, I better read this out because it'd be embarrassing for you to read it out yourself, Wendy. I was talking to a friend at the weekend who uses Firefish, who after 18 months invested in extra training with you. They liked you before, they now love you.
Oh, I'm just reading that as well. Thank you, Alex. Love the fish. That's brilliant.
Is the support and training in the format I want when I want? Lisa, does anybody know what format they want their training in? before they come to a CRM, or is it up to people like Wendy to help guide them as to what works best?
Often when recruiters come to us looking for training on CRM, they have a very good idea of what they don't want. And they don't basically want any training. And what I mean by that is they'll say, oh, and I'm trying to be positive about this because I've been training for a long time, and I do feel that the industry needs to invest in training for obvious reasons. But I do find that training on a Friday is crazy town, because within 4 minutes they're going to be at the pub having their pins or their gin, and it's all going to go to pot. I do think training for full days is crazy town, and I do think that there's an element of, rather than training someone on the system, they need to be trained on the process by which the system operates.
Right.
And so what we often do is we'll go into a business and they might say to us, I need training. And it's a bit like before where we said, and Wendy very rightly said, don't tell me what features you've got or what features you want. Tell me what you're trying to do with your business. What is it you want to achieve right now? What are your goals? And we'll always do the same. So we will go in and obviously we'll look at how they're using their current system, especially if they're migrating to a new one. Or what we often find is they bought a system, it was great, they had the training, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And then 6 months later, it's like, did I really marry this person? They don't look the same as what they did at the altar. So we go in and we'll do a quick discovery around how are you using the system right now? What are your key business goals? What are your key desk goals? You know, are you trying to source more talent, attract more talent? I mean, sourcing for me is very yesterday, attracting is what we need to be doing right now. Anyone can source. So I do think that recruiters often have an idea about what training they want. And then what we often do, unfortunately, is we'll say to them, I think if you do that, you're blowing your money. Fine, give us the cash, but you're not going to get any return on investment from it. We want you to be an expert in recruitment, not on the systems that you operate. So let's talk about your recruitment process and how the system integrates with that.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with Lisa on that more. And, you know, I think companies, you know, and what you're doing, Lisa, there is just so important for the industry, because I think, you know, owner just looks at the investment and say, oh, we're not using it. And as you said, you get a list of how can we just use it more, or do we need to go and look at a new system? Whereas actually it is the processes that need sort of reevaluated and before you can actually make any impact. But I also think, and I'll be interested in what you think, Lisa, as well. I mean, I think training is just, we talk about it as coaching, and it's just completely changed, because you will get a different generation, maybe the sort of generation of recruitment owners that, you know, are not quite as savvy in technology, and they feel that it should still be sit down, get all the users in front of a trainer and, you know, listen to what they've got for half a day. And actually that's one of our biggest challenges, because, you know, that's not how we want to deliver any coaching, because actually the majority of the recruiters, you know, they want it more instant. They want to just sort of do it, get told what to do, and then get a recording afterwards. So, you know, our slots we find works really well and actually though, trying to get the recruitment owner to understand that is a big challenge. And I don't know if you find the same thing, but I definitely think coaching and the styles of coaching completely changed. And that's something the industry needs to sort of wake up to as well.
We often recommend that the managers have training first, and they have a different level of training or coaching, and I like that word, to the recruiters, not because they're a different level within the business, but because they need to use the system for different things.
I think that's great. Well done.
The finance director, the marketing director, the managing director, and all the recruitment leaders need to understand how the system works and what they can expect the system to do in order for them to study pipelines, manage performance, all that's lovely stuff. They don't need to remember the code behind the button or what happened when you press this, but they do need to understand that when they go back to their desk, that they have the right to expect a certain level of a service level agreement really with their recruiters. But there's this rule called the 10-20-70 rule, which I go on about a lot. And the idea is that, you know, we say this to all of our clients. Yes, buy some training from us. We're great at it. But actually the training course, the widget that you envisage we're going to review is only 10% of what your recruiters are going to do back at their desk. The next 20%, God forbid, is what the managers expect them to do. So if the managers aren't trained on how to use the system, we're screwed straight away. And then the final 70%, and this is like apparently a proven scientific fact, the final 70% of what a recruiter does at their desk is what they copy around them, what they see on walls, what they get by email, what they maybe watch on a webinar. So what we often find is when we go in, we'll say, yeah, we'll run you a one-day bullhorn course, or a half-day innovative adverts training course, or whatever it be, but we need to advise you on, when they get back to their desk, what is actually going to happen. And we need to coach through how managers need to raise their expectations of our recruiters to use their system. In my much younger days, before I got into recruitment and I was a tech trainer, We always advise the clients have meetings with their staff before the training began, basically saying to John Smith, right, John, we're sending you on a course tomorrow. And that's the horrible word to use. I'm sending you on a course, like you've been a bad person. Sending you on a training course. What do you think you're going to get out of it? John writes a few things down, obviously, hopefully engages with all the joining instructions that have been sent. During the course, feels that they have to invest more in their learning because they know damn well when they get back, they've got to meet up with Lisa Jones, their manager, again. And he's going to say, you spent 8 hours away from your bid desk yesterday. You didn't bill a penny, but what did you achieve? What have you achieved? What have you learned? And what are you going to do with that information? And I think once you hold recruiters accountable for the learning that they're going to have, and the managers accountable for making sure that happens, then it all clicks into place really, really nicely. So I think one of the days of just buying a training course on how to use Firefish, I think it has to be a lot deeper than that.
Yeah. No, it's good.
I absolutely agree. So the comment in the sidebar from Steve Ward, I'm going to put to you, Wendy. It is given that CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management, although I think some people think it stands for Candidate Relationship Management. How effective is the industry at using it for productive relationship management in candidate pipeline and nurturing, or are they still focused on job completion? And I think this brings us to this finding hidden hires. Are recruiters focused on that one job they're working on, or is your experience, Wendy, that they're looking to make more of their CRM?
So it's a great question, and we're big on this. So I think the honest answer is that a recruiter probably doesn't relate to nurturing and actually understand what that concept really is. So the first thing is we never talk to them about nurturing. No. But what they do understand is job alerts. So this is probably the most simplest way of nurturing your database. So we've done some research, and last year the most successful recruiters were making 7 times more placements through just job alerts. Now, to explain that in terms of the concept that I know that Steve is much more au fait with actual proper nurturing and sort of nurturing programs. A job alert will be a candidate that can sign up for their preferences to meet jobs. So this makes sure that it's based on their preferences, the locations, their specializations, and more importantly, their salary. So you're not going to nurture or send a job alert to a candidate that is an exec level, a graduate job, because that just bins your credibility. So you make sure it's really targeted around that. Now, and from a recruiter's point of view, to get what this means is that, if you're sitting there with a database of 10,000 candidates, the likelihood that you will actually only be able to engage with 10 to 15% of those candidates without any form of nurturing going on, or emailing or job alerts and watching what's happening, is about 15% of that database, if you're lucky, over a 2-year period. So actually job alerts is a very soft way of being able to say, well, job alerts can go out and we can actually target these candidates because they've opted in for it. But let's give the recruiter a way of being able to see what's happening. So they can actually see who's clicked on it, who's looked at it, and who's got to the apply page but not actually applied, to allow the recruiter to then do their magic. Now, the benefit of this is I say, well, a recruiter will get a job. They'll probably get a list of 100 people on a search and they'll start at the top. Whereas Joe Blogs could be 99 on that list of 100. And effectively, they don't know that Joe Blogs hasn't been contacted for the last 2 years, but has actually just started to look. Now, if you're starting to send them a job alert and they start to go all the way to the apply page, we'll put them up to the top so the recruiter can get them first, have an educated conversation about them, and then try and convert them by doing their magic. So it's a little bit of a softer sell into nurturing, but I find that that's what we have to do with a lot of the recruitment sector, is then take all these concepts, recruitify them, I call them, and then start to give them a path as to how they could use that in their business. Now, slowly, we've got customers that are now looking to do like linked actions with actually set dates on set triggers. Now, this is really exciting because I would love the market to be pushing this way. But that's just starting to happen. It's the early adopters that have been maybe doing this sort of concept for the last 3 years. So I'm not sure, Steve, it's probably not what you want to hear in terms of the recruitment agency market yet, but it's definitely going that way, and definitely getting things that they understand in terms of targeted campaigns or targeted job alerts that they are able to see what's happening on them is starting to educate that market.
Okay, great. Thanks, Wendy. I was going to ask Lisa a question about her webinar, but she's a little blurry screen at the moment. So we're half an hour in. I don't intend to go through all of the other points of the white paper because otherwise we'll be here all day. But question 9 was, oh, hi, Lisa.
Hello.
I've got a question for you in a moment, but let's ask Wendy question 9. So question 9 was about the cost. And you were saying earlier about people paying on a monthly basis. How much has that changed over the years, and what should recruiters expect in terms of the model of cost as opposed to the price? Oh, Wendy frozen again.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, so yeah. So Wendy, for you.
Oh, sorry.
the cost model. How has that changed over the years, and what should recruiters expect?
Yeah, I think it's great. Oh, gosh, when I signed up, I was locked into a 3-year contract. I tried to negotiate, maybe got a 2-year contract, and then it was sort of a 6-month notice period, and then all those horrible things that some vendors still do of auto renewals as well. We get a lot of people actually still come down to a year's contract, but we do get a lot of people getting caught out because they're into an auto renewal of 3 months before their end date. So they think they've signed up, they've maybe bought the wrong one, and suddenly they're signed up for another year, which I don't like, but it is in the industry. I think for us, offering that monthly 4-week contract, it means that we've got to work really, really hard to keep our customers because they're just here for 4 weeks and then they could leave. So that definitely has driven, our main value is be our customer. And that's, if we're not being our customer and understanding their frustrations, then they can easily leave us. Actually, interesting enough though, and I think this is a really good insight for the marketplace of where we are and the confidence. This year, we're getting more and more people signing up for annual contracts. So last year, it was very much monthly. This year, I would say, 2 out of 3, they're actually signing up for the whole year because they obviously get a discount on that, but it means that they've cash in their business, which is great to see. Okay.
And Lisa, what's the conversations you're having with people who are coming to you who are at a decision stage as well?
I think we've gotten over the hump of, do I have a server and hug it every night because my data is secure? Bracket not, or do I go into the cloud? Luckily, that conversation has been and gone, and we're now having those conversations, interestingly, about websites, which is quite an interesting webinar, maybe for another day. I think a lot of my clients are quite happy to go into the cloud now. I think, let's face it, the only recruiters that I work with are the ones that either need rescuing in a really bad way because their implementation's gone wrong, or they're looking to move from their existing system and they need some advice on how to do that. So I'm unlikely to ever talk to anyone who's having a great time, a bit like the police. Never meet anyone who's really happy. But when I do meet recruiters, when I do talk to recruiters, I'm finding that they do think that moving is the only solution. They've not in the relationship as they probably could have, but more importantly, actually, the recruitment vendor hasn't invested enough either, because you've obviously got that Starbucks approach to software sales, which is I'll get you to sign and then I'll hand you over to somebody, and the relationship is constantly disruptive. And I understand why that is. I get that. I'm not suggesting it's a bad thing, but of course what happens throughout that, and this is the irony of a client, candidate or customer relationship system, is that people selling them are often not using their own systems to nurture the recruitment clients that they have on their own desks. They're so busy trying to generate new leads. And again, the market is really tough. So I'm not going to tell them how to run their businesses. They have much bigger and more profitable businesses potentially than I do. But I do think recruitment leaders need to expect more from their account managers. And I think that account managers need to give more back. I like the fact that, for example, Firefish do lots of webinars and content that isn't just about themselves. I think that's really cool. And I'm not just saying that because Wendy's on the phone. She knows that I know that already. So I think that the market does need to change. And I do think that recruiters are happier to buy cloud than they used to be. Okay,
Lisa, in case you go blurry again, I wanted to ask about the webinar you did on Friday, because that was what was the subject of that?
It was called, well, it was basically, we're calling it CRM first. So I had this kind of epiphany the other week on the road to work, where the theme that's running through nearly every single client that I've got right now, and marketeer. So I mentor marketeers, but we also coach recruitment leaders and IT leaders in tech. Is that what's happening at the moment is they're all, actually LinkedIn have helped me massively, and I'm a massive LinkedIn fan, brackets, close brackets, is that what they've done is by changing the system so radically and by making it absolutely apparent finally what their business model is, and that's fine because you should never get anything for free and then make money from it. I'm a big fan, you should pay for what you use. That what they've done is they've exposed the fact that the recruitment leaders are very reliant on free tech, free, and they're not relying on the stuff that they pay for. So I came up with the concept of CRM first, where, you know, I've got some stats. I'm going to quickly flick through them. You know, 65% of leaders polled last year said that this year's top priority was to improve profit, but only 20% of their sales leads are ever followed up, which is pants. So 80% of the leads that they generate just sat there going, place me, place me. Don't worry, we've got another 20 recruiters over there that can do that. And 33% of vacancies are still empty within 3 months of taking the brief. So there's things like that that don't add up in my head. There's also this 90, what I call the 90-17%. So 90% of recruitment leaders think that their staff are using a CRM as their first port of call for everything. And 17% of recruiters are going, yay. And the other 83% are going, CRM, that's that thing I got trained on when I first started by my boss, who doesn't really use it either. So I'll go on to LinkedIn instead. Oh, I need the paid for version of LinkedIn because I can't get the search results I need anymore. Or I need every job board going. And then at the same time, I'm having meetings with their bosses saying, I want to reduce job board costs. I want more people to come to my website. So I'm basically saying, so you want them to come to you first? Yeah. Well, you need to start using your CRM first then. That to me is what it's all about. So we ran the webinar specifically about that on Friday. And I think from 60% of recruiters say lack of candidates is a problem, but they've got a ridiculous amount of talent on their systems that they have not nurtured. And because I work with marketeers a lot, they always say to me, my CRM does not I need to do my job. So therefore, we've got a real problem with marketeers not being able to automate effective messages out to candidates. With recruiters who you would never want to automate them anyway, they need to get on the phone. And you've got recruitment leaders thinking that everything's fine. And when the system doesn't deliver results, the best thing to do is to change it, which isn't always a great solution. So that's what the webinar was about on Friday. How to basically use your CRM first.
Okay, great. Well, I will share a link to that in the blog post that I do summarising this live chat, so that people can they watch it afterwards, or is it gone forever now?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Good. Nothing's ever gone forever anymore, is it?
No.
Okay. So there were some other questions which we haven't covered. Some other questions in the white paper that we haven't covered. I'm not going to cover now, but you can get the questions we didn't cover that were in the white paper, which I'll link to from the blog afterwards. But I guess I wouldn't mind a couple of closing comments from both of you. So maybe Wendy first on, maybe you feel you've covered this already, but really what should recruiters be doing? What is the most important thing to be doing to get the value from the CRM?
Stop thinking features, start to think about what the problems in their business are and where they want their business to be, and then look at how technology can enable that.
Good. Thank you, Wendy. And Lisa?
I'm quoted on this. I turn all of you recruiters into addicts, God forbid. So I want all of you recruiters to be so addicted to CRM as a port of call that they don't use other systems. And this sounds very traditional, but it's necessary, I think, in the current market. I want recruiters that their CRM is a place that they respect, that their clients will clearly respect, so they'll pay for it, that the candidates want to be on, that investors want to pay something for, and obviously recruiters want to join a business where that CRM is king. So I think creating that addiction, and there are businesses out doing that right now. We had I'm not going to mention their name or the software that they were using, but they had a day last week where the entire planet in that business only used their CRM and used nothing else. Risky, but interestingly, the stats coming back from what they did are very, very pleasing. And I'm going to be writing about that in the next few weeks as well. But I do think we need to create an addiction, and not just candidates, and not just recruiters, but managers, clients, candidates, investors, all of that stuff.
Hi, that's really interesting. Well, when you've written that blog, I'll definitely share that in the newsletter, because it's been a long time since I recruited. But when I worked for a search firm initially, they did contingency as well at some point down the line, and no one ever used the database properly back then, and I don't think they do now, 20 years on. So it is a massive challenge, and I think getting the buy-in to care about it and seeing the results from it. So when you start to find those hidden hires without having to spend ages faffing on trying to find ways to get around LinkedIn limitations because you've already got the person in your database, that's when you see the results. Right, well, you two lovely ladies will both be with us on the 7th of June, both talking about this and other stuff that you love. Wendy, you'll be exhibiting and doing 20-minute demos for people, and your team pitch.
And I'm going to interrupt there. We are so excited this time because we have a new UI. So we'll be launching out our new look and feel, and it's been in beta just now, and the feedback is amazing. So really, really excited. The team here have been working on it for the last 6 to 7 months. So always like coming to your gig with the new with the latest and the newest. So yeah, really looking forward. Cami and I will be there as usual. Just follow the balloons, and we're looking forward to it.
Thank you. And Lisa, you will be around all day and running a workshop at the event with your I'm an expert because you are badge on. So thank you very much for that. Great. And I will share this on YouTube and Facebook and the white paper. And anyone who wants a copy of it, get in touch with me. And I'll be back with Stephen in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Thanks, guys.